They tell us to live in the present. But just for a moment, I want to go back. I want to go back over 1.5 years ago when I met someone on the Terraria Discord. And we shared one simple yet masochistic objective. We wanted to beat Terraria on the hardest difficulty at the time. Mastermode for the worthy, hardcore. But we wanted to do it in multiplayer. I had a dream to play this most insane Terraria challenge with as many people as possible. The dream of hardcore elimination was born. We'd start runs with as many people as we could gather and just see how far the survivors could make it. And with that dream, a journey began. A journey that would take almost 2 years to complete. I have so many great memories of the pure chaos that ensues in each and every run.
One shot? What?
I've had great conversations while playing this game with other people that are just as crazy as I am, if not more.
Just get off your ass and do something. It's so hard.
And now, this insane journey that started so long ago has finally drawn to a close. We've completed what we set out to do. We beat Mastermode for the worthy hardcore with as many people still standing as possible. This is my journey's end. But before the journey can end, the adventure must begin. This adventure started with a lot of people, and more would keep straggling in as they became available. Anyways, after watching a couple of people die, I raced my friend into this pyramid and managed to grab a sandstorm in a bottle. Continuing exploring, I got stopped by the jungle. Instead, I decided to take my chances with the corruption, and risking a one-shot, I jumped over the eaters. Anyways, making it to the ice biome, my friend Osama joined me. He was the one who beat regular Mastermode hardcore with me, so I was confident in exploring with him. He's important for this run, remember him. Anyways, in hardcore you get very accustomed to early game, so we quickly rushed to get some decent gear. Oh, and you see this guy? Yeah, remember him too, he's important. But while we were gearing up, evil was lurking.
Has anyone broken an orb yet?
Let me introduce you to Gnome. Gnome did this. This is horrible. Anyways, we continued rushing early game gear in preparation for the first few bosses. But then, disaster struck. After the killing season, I decided to take care of the murderers before they claimed any more victims. But alas, I was too late. I still built a quick little farm using lava that I had grabbed earlier. At this point, we weren't even sure if we would continue the run after so many people died so early. But there were still quite a few of us alive, so we decided to run with it. And while sorting my chests, this guy joined. Remember him, he'll be important later. At this point, I had full platinum armor, good accessories, and a demonite bow. But me and a lot of the people still alive needed more health. This time, I set my sights on the underground desert. However, the desert proved to be dangerous and barren of loot, so after grabbing one chest, I moved on to the jungle. Once again, I was accompanied by my friend Osama, and after watching him almost die right in front of me, we carried on and found a lot of loot and the Goblin Tinkerer. Even when you're geared up though, the jungle is extremely dangerous throughout the whole game, and recalls are my best friend. Anyways, after more exploring in the jungle, Osama and I eventually decided to go past the jungle and find the Aether biome. Setting up a pylon here for early access to the Shimmer is extremely beneficial. At this point, I had full health and a few extras for others. But not everyone was ready to start fighting bosses, so I went back into the underground desert to try and grab a magic conch. However, it took 2 more pairs of Dune Rider boots to finally find it. But before I left, I grabbed an ancient chisel from one more chest that I saw with my Spelunker potion. With my magic conch in hand, I explored the oceans. I got a pair of water walking boots, revived the angler, and started doing fishing quests. But now, it was time. Gathering the few survivors left, we summoned the Eye of Cthulhu. Nah, I'm not gonna lie, this was actually really easy. We were very overprepared. The Eye went down without any problems. Well, except for this guy. Yeah, remember him? He took a big hit from an Eater of Souls and almost died. But other than that, the Eye went down without a hitch. With the Eye of Cthulhu dead, we used the corruption seeds that it drops to start farming for ancient shadow armor. And while we waited for that to drop, we also did a lot of fishing, mainly for a bundle of horseshoe balloons. But also, getting fishing quests done now will be a great help in hard mode when we have to fish for ores. I also found a second pyramid with another sandstorm in a bottle. Also completely unrelated, but I definitely did not blow up my friend's house.
Sir Hop, oopsie.
With all of the grinding that we were doing, this also happened. We were more than prepared though, and it wasn't a problem. But while we were doing that, this guy had other plans. Now instead of trying to explain this guy's madness, I'll just show you what happened.
Alright, Ender, do you want to see what I've been working on?
Right? Okay.
So you can either come along the minecart or you can teleport to me if you want.
I'm zooming. Oh my.
So
I'll give you the tour. Alright, hop on the minecart. Just come along.
What the
over
f is this?
I'm gonna give you.
So yeah, this guy was trying to kill the Dungeon Guardian. Anyways, he roped me into his plans, and I ended up being the one summoning the Dungeon Guardian.
Above.
And despite almost dying, I had succeeded. I spawned the Dungeon Guardian, and this guy was whittling it down on his minecart. Nix and I joined him for a bit, and someone else died to an eater while trying to join us. Rest in peace. Anyways, it was going to take a long time to kill, so I ended up doing other things. But then this happened.
Oh shit, that's where they do it.
Was it because of server BS?
Right, and enable PvP. Right now.
Alright, can you clip it? If it was server BS, I'll let you come back. But you have to promise me not to fuck with it anymore.
Dude, that looked fucked up.
Because with 40... Yeah, so things get laggy in multiplayer, and this guy was in Australia, so ping was not on his side. But he was actually recording as well, and I'm going to show you what things looked like for him. When you were summoning it.
Oh shit, that's where they do it.
Like, he was going to come over and, like, see what we were doing, and, like, help kill, and then he just died to an eater. But, what was that for, Nix?
Try and enable PvP. Right now?
Oh no!
Dude, that looked fucked up on my screen. It was barely on my screen, and it fucking jitter teleported like on top of me for a split second. Oh, what the fuck?
After watching that, I decided to let him come back, but under one condition: that he didn't try to kill the Dungeon Guardian again. In a laggy multiplayer server, something is bound to go wrong eventually. But it didn't even matter. With a murderer among us, we decided to ban Nyx for the rest of the run. Maybe he didn't deserve it. Sorry, Nyx. With those tragic events behind us, though, we few survivors trudged onwards. After a little more grinding, Osama and I started preparing to fight the Eater of Worlds. After a brief and rude interruption, we decided to wait until the next day to fight it because Zerhop and Gnome weren't there. But when I hopped on the next day, I found this.
Oh, did you just go down? Oh. Oh, okay. Oh. Oh.
How much? Zerhop likes to over-prepare, and that's an understatement. But this arena was only the beginning. Anyways, with all of our preparation, the Eater of Worlds went down easily. And after grabbing some Healthstone, we were ready for Skeletron. Once again, Zerhop came out swinging with an amazing arena. And overprepared as we were, the fight was very easy. Now, descending into the dungeon, I mostly just wanted the Muramasa for the Knight's Edge and a Shadow Key. Now, I spent quite a bit of time in there, but I didn't really get anything I needed, so I eventually just recalled and got an extra Muramasa from Gnome. Now, we were in it to win it. Before we fought the Wall of Flesh, we wanted to prepare a lot of things for hard mode. But first, I have something very sad to tell all of you. Osama did not make it, and I unfortunately lost the footage. It happened while I was farming for my Terra Spark boots. In the end, Osama bin Laden was blown up by a suicide bomber. You see, in For the Worthy, most bunny spawns are replaced with explosive bunnies, which will one-shot you. So with heavy hearts, we kept moving forwards. Now I started to work on a massive underground mob farm that will get us souls, mimic drops, and provide a good fishing spot in hard mode. While I was working on this, Zerhop began building a bridge to fight the Wall of Flesh. Okay, now, remember how I told you that we are going to over-prepare a lot? This is where it starts to get wacky. So Zerhop built the whole Hell Bridge out of sand. Remember all those Dune Redder boots that I got earlier? Yeah, we are going to be fighting the Wall of Flesh on sand and getting a massive speed boost from the Dune Redder boots. Also, we lined the whole Underworld bridge with campfires, heart lanterns, and imp banners. If you don't know, the Wall of Flesh and For the Worthy spawns super-powered fire imps, so these banners will make them basically irrelevant. But we still had more to do. The jungle is an absolute nightmare in hard mode. So, right now in pre-hard mode when things are still not that bad, we decided to set up our Plantera/Golem arena as well as a life fruit farm. Now, I told you we're over-preparing, right? We also decided to kill Deerclops to get the Bone Helm for a little extra damage during the Wall of Flesh fight. Then, after reforging everything, we were ready.
We're going. Oh god. I don't feel good. I have a bad feeling about this. It's the ground.
There we go.
Anyone
No,
bother me?
I should have gotten the Cobalt Shield. Okay,
That's
we
it?
did it.
It's over? Oh my god.
Oh,
no,
wow,
yeah, I got
wow.
the goat skull. Nice.
The corner of the map.
Corner.
We only used a quarter of the world when we filled the entire thing. It turns out that if you over-prepare for boss fights, they're really not that hard. With this amazing milestone behind us, the reality of our situation began to set in. Despite all of our gear and the progression that we had made, getting into hard mode felt like we were set back to square one. There are so many things that can just one-shot us, but unlike early game, we have everything to lose. Not only this, but everything had changed. Our journey was no longer accompanied by the lighthearted companionship of joking with friends. Instead, it seemed like we trudged through a graveyard as our fallen friends followed us through the fire and brimstone. But alas, all we could do was keep pushing forward. We embraced the grind. We would not let their sacrifices be in vain. Retreating to the underground AFK farm that I had built, we farmed mimic loot and money while fishing for hard mode ores. After getting some accessories and armor, I decided to grind for the Ankh Shield. While it is a huge time investment, I think that the immunity to most debuffs will be worth it. After all, we are not afraid of putting a lot of time into this run if it will help us survive. With the Ankh Shield done, we focus again on our survivability. Palladium armor has nice health regen, but the defense is a little low, and we wanted as much defense as possible, so we went for a hybrid set of armor. With a titanium helmet, frost breastplate, and adamantite leggings, we can have the most defense possible at this stage in the game. With armor done, it was now time to focus on our weaponry. There are a lot of good weapons in early hard mode, some better than others, and some more dangerous to obtain than others. So we decided to strike a balance between power and danger with the Daedalus Stormbow. The damage can be pretty good, despite the recent nerf to holy arrows. While Hollow Mimics can be a pretty formidable enemy, if you fight them above ground in a decent arena using a Key of Light, they're not that bad. On the server that we were playing on though, they were really laggy and teleporting everywhere. So after beating it in a fair fight once, I was fine with cheesing the rest of them. After getting 2 of the bows, reforging them to Unreal, and farming for holy arrows, Zerhop and I were ready for the twins. Gnome wasn't able to get on for this fight, but we'd catch him up later. The fight was a little scuffed, and we underestimated how small and fast they are in For the Worthy. The Daedalus Stormbow isn't too accurate, so against the twins, which in For the Worthy are tiny and super fast, it wasn't that great, our damage, but we managed to take them down without any problems. Before facing the rest of the mechs though, we decided to farm the twins to craft hallowed armor. The idea was that we could switch between the high defense mixture set and just the total damage reduction of the holy protection with the hallowed armor, depending on the situation, and just pick which one we wanted. The next boss we decided to tackle was Skeletron Prime. Now for the twins, we just used our massive Skeletron arena. For Prime, we would need to make some modifications. In For the Worthy, the Prime Cannon shoots bombs that actually destroy tiles. There's a couple of things that you can do to get around this, but the easiest one for us seemed to be to cover our existing arena with some type of storage item since they can't be destroyed by bombs. The cheapest option that we found was hat racks, requiring only 16 wood for 3 blocks of coverage. Still though, covering our whole arena took a lot of wood. Fortunately, if you have money, you can skip the waiting for trees to grow. You can just buy furnaces from the merchant while he's in the jungle and shimmer them to get wood. The actual fight against Skeletron Prime went pretty well. It's a little hard to follow him in multiplayer, but it wasn't too bad. Because we prepared for the tile destroying bombs, there's nothing else really crazy going on with this fight in For the Worthy. You know, just the regular size, speed, and damage increases. That leaves only one mech boss left, the Destroyer. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is a scary fight. It's plain and simple. In Mastermode For the Worthy, the head of the Destroyer can just one-shot you. Even with max defense, buffs, and health, there's still a chance that you just get one shot. Even then, in this fight, there's massive amounts of probes, which are bigger in For the Worthy and shoot tons of lasers, so it's highly unlikely that you'll be at full health all of the time, making it even more likely that you're just going to get one shot if the head ever touches you. With this massive threat of just getting one shot and ending everything, we spent a lot of time brainstorming strategies. We did consider cheesing it, but I knew that I would never be content with that. And Gnome was busy for a few weeks, so it was just up to me and Zerhop. We decided to just fight it fairly and prepare as much as possible. We spent hours grinding for Nimbus Rods, Life Fruit, and all the materials we needed just to make buff potions. As for arena preparation, we continued with the same arena, but with one small modification. I decided to add a couple vertical lines of minecart tracks to the arena. This proved to be quintessential. Unlike platforms, minecart tracks don't hinder your mobility at all, but they still allow you to grapple through them, reset your flight time, and just propel yourself horizontally. In the Destroyer fight, with the threat of the head, all the lasers, and the probes, it's really important to just stay in the air and dodge everything as much as you can. These minecart tracks proved to be insanely useful. Other than that, we also needed to prepare our weapons. Besides the Nimbus Rod, both of us brought a couple different options. Number 1, the Hellwing Bow with regular wooden arrows. It shoots really fast and pierces great. Number 2, the Daedalus Stormbow with unholy arrows. Because of the nerf to holy arrows, the speed and piercing of unholy arrows are actually better for this particular boss. Number 3. A melee weapon to deal with the probes in close range. I had the Tao of Pow and Zerhop had a Gungnir. And with all of this prep, we were ready. Other than one close call, this fight actually went very well. Early hard mode is always a grind, but I feel like once you get started with the mech bosses, you build up momentum in a boss rush to the end. And next up on the hit list was Plantera. First things first, we finished grinding for turtle armor. With a couple of shells already acquired, we only had to grind a few more. Then I took up some chlorophyte, which was pretty scary.
Alright. Turtle armor.
Next, arena prep. While we already built a massive arena in pre-hard mode, a little bit of modification was required. Mostly, we broke the walls in the background so that Plantera can't attach her hooks in the middle of the arena. But of course, the game needed to punish us. Remember in early hard mode when we fished for all of the ores? We did that because 1, mining for ores is dangerous, and 2, in order to generate the ores, you need to smash a demon altar, which allows the pirate invasion to occur. Well, while we were destroying the back walls in the Plantera arena, I wasn't paying attention, and this happened.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
All your fault.
What?
This could have been really bad. Pirates deal huge damage and there'll be tons of them everywhere. But Zerhop was prepared and we quickly set up a kind of scuffed farm to take care of them. And then it was time for Plantera. Plantera in For the Worthy is pretty crazy. She's larger, faster, and shoots her thorn balls over 3 times more quickly. In short, there's going to be projectiles everywhere, while a giant enraged plant is chasing you down with the hunger of a demon. To deal with most of her projectiles and thorn balls, we decided to use a gravitation potion and fight her on the ceiling. This way, the thorn balls will fall down, or up, and we won't have to worry about them. And since we were already over-preparing, we decided to put asphalt on the ceiling to make us that little bit faster. With all this prep, she went down without a problem. That means that Golem is the next target. In the Terraria community, he's often regarded as a joke and the easiest boss in the game. Well, let me be the first to tell you, in For the Worthy, he is no joke. Besides the regular damage increases in For the Worthy, the massive contact damage increases, and the speed increases, Golem decides to make your life utter hell by shrinking down to about the size of the player, moving insanely fast, and overall just jumping around like a dang ping pong ball. Oh, and on top of all of this, he obliterates all light. Just to see the little guy, we had to fill our entire arena with walls covered in illuminant coating. Welcome to Shadow Golem. Fighting this blind in the temple room would be a death sentence, but again with all of our prep, he went down easily. With him dead, we had access to the best armor of the run, beetle armor. With this, we become unkillable tanks. Now before killing the cultist and rushing into the endgame, some upgrades were in order. Some of our accessories were getting a little outdated and I was still relying on the Mega Shark. Zerhop and I did some grinding and got the Master Ninja Gear and Frozen Shield to upgrade some old accessories. And then while I was gone, Zerhop ended up fighting the Martian Madness event and got me an Influx Waiver. After that, I began to work on the Moonlord Arena, basically a long asphalt bridge with campfires and heart lanterns. And finally, we killed the Brain of Cthulhu for the Brain of Confusion accessory. This and the Master Ninja Gear will give us 2 dodge chances, which, combined with the massive defensive capabilities of beetle armor, will make us almost unkillable. With that, we were ready for endgame. With all of our preparation and tanky gear, the cultist went down easily. This fight can get out of hand quickly if you hit the wrong apparition, but we collectively decided to let Zerhop hit the correct one so that we weren't all shooting at the same time. The first pillar we went for was Stardust. We sat at the edge of the pillar's radius and killed the Stardust cells that regenerate until the shield was down. Then I easily took out the pillar from afar with the Influx Waiver. The 3 of us, equipped with Stardust Dragons, started taking out the Vortex pillar next. Zerhop just dropped in from above and took it out, while Gnome and I grinded out some enemies on our asphalt bridge. And then, Solar Pillar. Zerhop let me take the reins on this one, and I built whatever this scuffed farm is, but it worked, and I was rewarded with my final weapon, the Daybreak. But before we took out the final pillar, we double-checked everything, which actually translates to shaking the control D and being ridden with anxiety while delaying the fight, but inevitably, we took out the Nebula pillar. This was it. After years of playing Mastermode, For the Worthy, Hardcore, Multiplayer, we were here, and we were determined to win. We made it. The journey I started almost 2 years ago is over. Back then, this was the hardest version of the game. And since then, the harder Zenith Seed has come out, For the Worthy has been buffed, and I've met so many great people through this challenge. Whenever I finish something like this, I like to take a moment to reflect and see what I've learned, if anything. First of all, I've realized that Terraria is not designed for multiplayer hardcore. When you die in hardcore, you become a ghost, and these have some wacky properties in multiplayer. They can open doors even though they already phase through blocks, they can block players from picking up items, they can prevent mobs from spawning, and they count as active players towards boss health. Not only that, but when you die in hardcore, you don't drop piggy bank or safe loot, so it's lost to the void. And if you leave the game after death, the red X marking your corpse also disappears. Both of these oversights make it very hard for surviving players to recover the dead loot. Red, if you're watching this, please fix these. Give us multiplayer hardcore players some love. And yet, despite all of these quirks, I've found that multiplayer hardcore is my favorite way to play the game. I've cultivated a community around this game mode and learned so much about the intricacies of this game's mechanics. As for life in general, I've also learned a lot. Through my experiences with the game and the interactions with people that I've met because of this challenge, I've learned that achieving something very difficult is possible if you're willing to put in the work. For the Worthy is hard, really hard, but if you take the time to properly prepare, you will be rewarded. This can be generally applied to life too. A lot of people aren't willing to achieve what they want simply because it's difficult or requires a lot of work. But if you're willing to do it right and put in the work, you will see results. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me on my multiplayer hardcore journey.